Hi, everybody. Thornbrake here. So excited for this event. We've been talking about this for quite a while, and we're here tonight with Rick Meints from Chaosium to talk all about the new 40th anniversary edition of the classic ElfQuest role-playing game. If you're here, you probably know all about what that is. But just on the off chance you don't, this is the sort of the new edition of the classic ElfQuest role-playing game that came out originally in 1984, and last year Warp Graphics reconnected with Chaosium, which is a big role-playing company, and they did the original game, and we did a successful Kickstarter last fall to bring out that classic game. And you can see Rick here is holding it up. I have mine right here as well. Um, but because of the way that Kickstarters go, we were able to add in some really cool stretch goals that allowed us to not just take that original game and kind of hit the reprint button, but also to update some of it and to add some additional content. So I got to work on that. It was really, really fun, and I'm excited about it. I hope you all are too. So anyway, tonight Rick is here. And so we're going to be just having kind of like an informal chat with Rick. We're going to take your questions. So um, to do that, you can either raise your hand and we'll bring you in on camera and you can ask your question directly. And we can have a little chat. If you're camera shy, that's okay too. You can put your questions right in the chat. And then our two mods, who you can see at the bottom of the screen here, the incredible Damson, who is the mistress of this Discord and kind of is really the one who has done all the heavy lifting to make this entire space available. And then also we've got Hawksong, who has stepped up to be one of the mods and kind of a leader of the role-playing game stuff here. So thank you both for all of your work on this on the Discord and for kind of jump starting the role-playing game efforts here on this ElfQuest Fan Holt Discord server. So without
Thanks,
further ado, go
happy
ahead.
to be here. I just wanted to say one thing. You don't have to share your camera at all. You can just ask your question verbally. We can make you a speaker or just post your question in the chat.
Sure, whatever works is fine.
Yeah, anything you want to do. All right, I'm gonna get out of here now. And Hawksong, she's one of our is our main RPG coordinator. And if anybody has any questions for that kind of stuff after the end of all of asking Rick questions, we'll stick around a little bit longer at the end of the meeting if you want to do that too. So
sure.
We'll see you guys later.
Time for everybody's questions, or we have plenty of questions.
Yeah,
David. I just found out.
Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Thank you for sending me the name generator. My ElfQuest name is RockMelter.
So, there you go. That's a pretty cool one.
I'm cool with that. I like volcanoes. Yeah.
Before we went live here, Rick was saying that he doesn't have an ElfQuest name, and I shared with him the official ElfQuest name generator that we have on ElfQuest.com. It's in the chat if you haven't played around with it, which is actually in part inspired by the role-playing game, by the ElfQuest companion book, which is now going to be part of the new edition in the box. So anyway, that's pretty cool. RockMelter, you said?
RockMelter, yeah.
Okay, we'll have to. I'll start referring to you as that. So, well, Rick, let's let's just start with you just sharing a little bit about who you are and what you do at Chaosium, just for everybody's info.
Welcome everybody. My name is Rick Meints. I've been a gamer since the 70s. I've been the president of Chaosium for the last 10 years. Actually, June was my 10th anniversary, so it's great to have gone pro 10 years ago. Before that, I was kind of a small-time independent publisher and longtime fan of Chaosium's games, so it's great to be a part of the company. Even though I'm president, my day job varies wildly. I am also the head of the Department of Nostalgia, and that is what has brought out a number of the classic games as reprints. First we did Runequest Classic and got Runequest 2nd Edition material back into print, well over 1,000 pages of material. And then we did Call of Cthulhu Classic. And, of course, next up, based on anniversary schedules, was ElfQuest Classic. We wanted to get it back into print for the 40th anniversary. It came mighty close. 85 is when most of the material came out, so I feel we're right on track. And it's great. I'm happy to announce, just like I said in the last Kickstarter update, that we're still on track to have it out before the end of the year. I want to have it in people's mailboxes by Christmas or the holiday season.
Excellent. Yeah, that was going to be the first question that I was going to ask, is just, what the latest update is. And so I don't know if you have anything more to share on that about PDFs and all of that.
Oh, sure. Happy to get into that. Just so I do a bit of layout, a bit of production work, but a lot of my day-to-day activities revolve around conventions, like organizing Chaosium Con. Not to put in too big a plug on that, but Chaosium Con conventions are dedicated to all of Chaosium's role-playing games, be it Call of Cthulhu, ElfQuest, Runequest, Pendragon, and so on. And we not only have them in the United States, we also have a Chaosium Con in the United Kingdom, which we just had in May. We're going to have Chaosium Con Europe, which is going to be in Gdansk, Poland, coming up in end of October, right after Spiel Essen. And we also have Chaosium Con Australia, which we just had in June. So trying to give people a lot of chance to play Chaosium games and interact with the funnest, most die-hard Chaosium fans. So we have at least 4 of those conventions every year. And one of my day hats, as I said, is to be a convention organizer. So I'll be at GenCon next week. But before I go to GenCon, I'm trying to wrap up all the remaining little fiddly bits that we got worked out with the printer, so I can get all the latest PDFs on the server right around the end of the week.
Oh, that's awesome news. That's sort of breaking news, because I hadn't heard that yet. So
that's the goal. I should be able to do it, barring any GenCon pop-up problems. But we're well on track. We got a whole team of people. It's not just me getting ready to go to GenCon. And so, along with doing a little bit of Call of Cthulhu production work, I'm wrapping up the ElfQuest stuff so I can get it out to the backers. I'm just trying to get it perfect so I don't have to say, okay, here's another update to the file. And then people like, there's 4 different versions of this book on the digital downloads. Which one is the latest one? I prefer to have fewer versions and more, but I want to get those out there as soon as possible, especially the electronic character sheets where you can, type on them. They're interactive PDFs, and people can then play the classic characters from the original ElfQuest, or they can, of course, put their own characters on there, and then they can update those electronically and print them out whenever they want.
And that's one of the things that we were able to add to. So in addition to all of the, I forget how many, 27 or so characters that were in the original game that had a character sheet, we've been able to add a whole bunch more of canon characters from ElfQuest. So, but we're not going to tell you which ones until you actually get to see them in Backer Kit. So, we'll keep that secret for a little while longer. So, folks, if you have questions for Rick about anything ranging from what is going into this new 40th anniversary edition of the classic ElfQuest RPG, any of the specific materials, if you have questions about the basic role-playing system, which is the core, like the sort of the system that the Chaosium games use in all of their games. I know there are questions about, sort of adapting some of those rules to make them fit a little bit better for the ElfQuest. So please do not be shy. This is why Rick is here, to hear from you, to answer your questions. So again, if you missed at the beginning, you can either raise your hand and we'll bring you in and you can ask your question directly to Rick. You can put your camera on or you can leave it off. If you're too shy for that, no worries either. You can just put your question in the chat and either Damson or Hawksong will pop on and they'll read your question. So I know you guys have questions, so let's hear them.
And I did want to mention we are recording this, so if you don't want to be in the recording, just throw your question in the chat too.
Yes. All right, so we got one request to speak here. So let me pop in. Let's see if I do this right. Hang on.
Nailed it.
There we are. There we are. Hey.
Hey. So this is a question I have. Thornbrake already knows this because he and I talked right before the Kickstarter went live. A long time ago, we're talking 1996, I whipped up a character generator that I had online. And I redid it back in 2013 to clean it up and do some extra stuff. But with the Kickstarter and everything like that, and then the custom content, I looked at your rules, and it talks about how you can't have a program. You can do something that's on the web, but you can't have something that is a download. And this is indeed a download because it was written back in like 96. So it's all in DOS and
It was
operates
really
on
early
Windows.
internet, yeah.
Yeah. So it's really, really early internet. And so I was wondering what that process is, if this is not going to be able to be done, or if I need to work with someone to make this a thing.
Well, we have an email, licensing@chaosium.com. And if you email them, I'm included on those emails, so I'll see it as well. And then the licensing team can see what's possible. But we're
Okay.
as much as possible, as long as everybody's intellectual property and copyrights and so on is respected. And of course, in this case, the Pinis buy into it. We'll see what we can do.
Okay, that would be perfect. Ironically, I was digging around looking for my original source code in case there was changes that need to be made. Like if you said, hey, XYZ needs to be added, taken out, blah, blah, blah. And I found it. And it's dated back in 2018. So 2018 was the last time I touched the actual source code for this program. So I'm excited to see if something can come of it.
Sure. We tools that the players really benefit from, we try to support those as much as possible.
Yeah, the whole reason I originally made this, because I love the ElfQuest game, but the thing is, like, when you create a character, it's a lot of math with every different like race, like strength divided by dex and then strength times 2. So I just made a program that basically shortcut that did all the math for me.
Sure. Although one thing that we've had one of our people working on, not as a criticism or anything negative about your project, is that we've been working on an AutoCalc character sheet because the ElfQuest characters are relatively similar, especially to Runequest characters. And so one of the people on our AutoCalc character sheets team was like, "Oh, I could whip something up for ElfQuest," and they're kind of working on it in their spare time.
All the better.
So that would be, you have your interactive PDF, and when you start putting in numbers on there, like you fill in your strength and your dex and your con and all that, it's going to start auto-calcing other things around it.
That's perfect. Like, it does not have to be my program. That's, like I said, it was mostly for math and my hatred of math. But if we have something official, I'm down.
Sure.
Yeah, no, that's great news, and I'm totally in that same boat. Like, I don't want to have to do any more math than I need to. So that's exciting. So, all right, well, that's a great first question. I think that kind of brings up another question that I know folks have, and that is wanting to understand more about the community content options in the program. And Rick, and you and I have been talking about this, but why don't you share with everybody just kind of what that is, how it works, and where we are in the process?
Sure. Well, we've got basic agreement from the Pinis of that we're going to replicate what we currently do on DriveThruRPG, the largest download site for PDFs, especially of role-playing game material. And on there, we have a community content program for Call of Cthulhu. We have a community content program for Runequest. We have one for 7th Sea. We have one for Pendragon. We're going to be adding one for ElfQuest as well. And what that will allow people to do is, as long as they follow the terms and conditions for publication, they'll be able to publish scenarios for ElfQuest RPG. They'll be able to come up with background material, sourcebook material, as long as it's written in your own words and it complies with the other terms and conditions. You'll be able to have these either available to people for free, or you'll be able to charge money. And there's a split between Chaosium, the Pinis, DriveThruRPG, and the author. But the author gets at least 50%.
Which is pretty amazing. So,
Yeah, we have lots of examples of what is available on our community content programs. Even if you're not interested in Call of Cthulhu or Runequest or Pendragon, you can see the range of material. And we've had hundreds and hundreds of titles get published on DriveThruRPG. You decide the length of the publication. We have some of them that are just quick reference cards, all the way up to 256-page background books on a subject related to the game world or characters, or some of them are quite specific topics. Like, it could be like shipbuilding, or it could be you name it. And as long as it's original material, you can put a price tag on it. It can be, like I said, an 8-page product, a 64-page product, or larger or smaller. A lot of it's adventure material, because a lot of people have ideas for, wouldn't this be fun to play through this? And so there are hundreds of adventures available on our community content programs, and we want to see similar with ElfQuest.
Yeah, that would be incredible. And Rick, can you talk a little bit more about what it means when you say original content? So what is not allowed? What would not be original content that would not be allowed to go into DriveThruRPG?
Well, if it's just a rehash of existing information, like let's say you wrote some of the story down from the original novels, or you're just taking material like, oh, here's a quick spell guide that's from the ElfQuest rule book. If it's in the ElfQuest rule book, we don't need it rehashed in smaller community content.
So this is not the place, yeah, then for like sort of like shortcut like notes basically so in other words, if you didn't have the book handy or you didn't want to flip through to find it, but you created a little bit of a cheat sheet for yourself, that's fine for you to use for yourself and to share with your players, but it's not something that is going to go up as an official supplemental kind of material and DriveThruRPG. Right, okay, cool. And another related question.
If I could just say one other thing is,
Yeah.
we want every one of our programs has one or more community content ambassadors. And what these people do is they help encourage, enable, and provide resources to, potential authors for their material. Because for example, on any one of our community content programs, often a lot of discussion takes place on Facebook, but it also takes place on Discord and other places. It's wherever the conversation takes place, the ambassadors tend to gravitate towards. But it could be something like, oh, well, I have this scenario I'm writing, but I don't have any art for it. Does anybody know any artists? Well, the ambassador could help recommend artists, or a layout person, because somebody's very good maybe just with typing something up in a Google Doc or something, but they're not as familiar with some of the nicer layout programs, which are a lot more higher end and specialized skill set. But a lot of people are happy to help with layout or other related things, or even editing. Some people just are happy to review it, to catch any typos. And all of our communities, one of the things I really like about them is not only are the ambassadors there, but the people. It's a very collaborative spirit. It's almost a team effort on many of the projects, and you get a lot of great help because these people want to see additional things coming out, and they're happy to help make those things come out.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you that there will be people on this call who are going to be interested in doing that. If somebody wants to become that kind of ambassador for ElfQuest, for the ElfQuest RPG, what do they do?
Reach out to Chaosium. My email is just Rick, R-I-C-K, at chaosium.com. Although I'm tempted to add RockMelter at chaosium.com. But yes, Rick at chaosium.com. I can also put you in touch with our other community content ambassadors if you're curious what it's like. I mean, it's a position that actually we will, as long as you're active and doing what we ask you to do, it actually pays a monthly fee as well to you. So you get a little bit of money out of it if that's what you'd like. So we're not just trying to get free volunteer time out of people. We're willing to pay a bit of money for the hours you'll be putting into it.
That's amazing. It really is. Does anybody have any questions?
One of our ambassadors gets some money, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Does anybody have any questions about that? I'm going to just hold a little bit of space here for anybody to raise their hand if you have a question that you want to ask or a comment. I see that the chat is going on. I'm not following it while we're live here, but I know that Damson is. So take it away, Damson.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as far as whether Facebook or here on the Discord, personally, I think we've got a nice group of people being interested in the RPG here, and I'd be very happy to make channels or forums or anything that we'd need for the ambassador to work with people here through Discord. I'm very happy to set that up. So awesome. Reach out to me and reach out to Chaosium, and we'll get it all going. I did have one question. Is there back about the DriveThruRPG stuff? Is there a timeline for when that might be running, soon or later?
I want to get it launched in September.
Oh my gosh, that's so soon. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, no, we want to get it out this year, because we're going to be having these nice box sets of ElfQuest in players' hands before the end of this year. And so people are going to need to have some time to write some things for that. And so to have community content coming out right around the time you get in those box sets, so you got more adventures to play and all that kind of stuff, we'd like to get it started sooner rather than later. If it doesn't have a lot of output right away, that's okay. All of our community content programs started a little bit slowly, but as things came out and people saw what's possible and how well received they were, and that's usually it just spurs more people on, no matter what the speed is at the beginning.
Yeah. I could see ElfQuest fans getting very into this.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I saw in the comments related to community content, which was pointed out, is that we very much want to support artists and authors, along with all creators in general. And one of the things we do not allow in our community content programs is AI-generated content, be it the words or especially the art, but it's both. We want to, because if we see those things, and we use AI to fight AI, so we have AI sniffers check all the art and all that. We will, if you have AI, we'll work with you, but we're going to take down the product, and then we'll work with you to replace whatever art or writing is with human created content. And so we're not trying to dump on technology. We're using modern technology to do this right here with Discord. We love technology, but there are limits. And supporting our creatives is a limit we are not going to, back away from.
Yes, cheers, and cheers. It's one of the reasons why we're so thrilled and grateful to be working with Chaosium on this because of that. So Damson, any other questions that have popped up in the chat?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We got a bunch. But before we get to the ones in the chat, I'm gonna do one person who couldn't come to the this meeting. Their name is Brookie, posted something to our chat earlier this week. And I'm just gonna read it out because this sort of goes along with all this community content stuff. They said, concerning an ElfQuest module development project on virtual tabletop platforms like Roll20, is it legal to develop a public ElfQuest module for the fans online, meaning adapting the rulebook into a VTT module, just like Call of Cthulhu modules on Roll20? The idea would be starting that project would be able to find an easier way to play online. And this is, Brookie is someone who is a computer programmer and has interest in doing that side of the things.
Sure. VTT is a huge part of our, online presence. We have a number of platforms. We have Roll20, where Call of Cthulhu is the third largest game system on there. We also work with Fantasy Grounds and a number of other platforms, Foundry, The Forge. The problem is finding coders or programmers who can work with us to get products up on there. If we're reliant on the people from Roll20 or the Foundry or the Forge or so on to get the products created for us, they tend to prioritize, unfortunately, games like ElfQuest or, I could mention a number of our games. They prioritize them rather low because they don't think they're going to sell as much as working on a D&D product or a Pathfinder product or whatever. And so, but that said, if you're a person who can create VTT assets or work with the assets, we'd be happy to talk with you more. If you reach out to me, rick@chaosium.com, I can put you in touch with our VTT people, and we'll see what's possible. And once again, we're just expecting to get free labor on these things. We're willing to pay to have people create content for Chaosium. And so we'll see what's possible. As for the fine details, it's hard to go through all the nuances of exactly what's allowed and not allowed with fan-created content on VTT stuff. Of course, you're always welcome to create something for your own group. That's never a problem. It's when you want to make it available to a wider audience. We've got to make sure it complies with all of our licensing terms, acknowledging intellectual property and copyright. We don't want to have the Pinis lose any of their rights to anything. We don't want to have Chaosium lose any of the rights to ours as well. And so we're happy to discuss that. We've done it with a number of other people, so it's not our first rodeo when it comes to working with individual VTT creators. And I'll get you in touch with the right people, and we'll see where it can go.
That's amazing. And Brookie might not be the only person who has programming experience. So if we even got like a group project going and talking to you like that, okay. Because I think everybody's itching to have something on Roll20.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most frustrating things for Chaosium when it comes to VTT, and I'm sure it's the same for many role-playing game companies, is every platform, be it Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, Foundry Forge, whatever, they all have to be done separately. It's not like we can create it for one and put it on all of them. We have to tweak every one of these. And so it's not as simple as we wish it was. Because a lot of people say, oh, it's great you have VTT, but here is my platform I really want it for. And of course, there are many different platforms. There's always new platforms getting out there. And it's not just create it for one and dump it on all the others. They're all individual efforts, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so, we tend to do the most with Roll20 because it's one of the larger ones. We realize not everybody likes Roll20. They'd rather have their own for whatever reasons, be it for money or just frequency of use or just familiarity with it. We get it. It's just that, unfortunately, all those VTT platforms are separate and take individual efforts to create stuff for them.
Totally understood. I think a lot of people, from what I've heard so far, are using Roll20. Not everybody, but a lot of people are. And Discord has a little app you can use in a voice channel that directly connects you with Roll20. So it's easy on our end as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. I'm going to look for other questions. 1 second. Excuse me if I get your name, butcher your name really bad. Dennis Matusik said, will the new characters mentioned earlier that you were talking about be printed or PDF only?
Some of them are printed in the box. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll, and Rick, remind me, because we've been through so many iterations of this. We're going to collect all the character sheets as full page. So in the original game, the character sheets were sort of like embedded within the page, and they were really tiny.
Yeah.
And so
one of the things you're going to see, I mean, because in the books, I'm just trying to find one. In the original books, they were a little quarter page and very hard to read. And so in the printed books, they'll be this size, but we also are including a full size, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with those characters on them. So they will be a full size character sheet. That's how they were all created. We shrunk them down to put them in the book for that size, but we're also including a stack of paper, full sheet of paper size. So you're talking quadruple size, the small ones in the book.
So you can make notes on it if you want to do that and that kind of thing. But there's also going to be the editable PDF version of each of those as well. So we got
that way you can update them and print them out whenever you want onto an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper.
Now, one thing that I'd like to share is, because we haven't really talked about this, but I think folks would be interested to know is, the original game came out just before the end of the original Quest series, right? And so sort of the rules and the world building and the characters were based on what we knew in the ElfQuest world at that time. And as I mentioned at the beginning with the stretch goals, allowing us to add some more content, the question was, well, okay, how are we going to add, how do we want to add content across the whole story universe of ElfQuest, which, covers 20,000 plus years? And the answer, of course, was yes. So the characters are going to be from every era. The basic rules of the game are going to apply whether you choose to play during the original Quest era or during the long wait era. Maybe you want to play during the Stargazer's Hunt era. The basic rules of the game apply regardless of what era, but you're going to have characters, pre-made character sheets for characters from all of those different eras. And so there'll be a lot of options. And again, if you want to make Cutter, Cutter's character sheet is from the original Quest, right? So he's 30 years old, right? No face fire. If you want to do, Elder Cutter, then just roll up your own Elder Cutter character, right? You're going to be able to do that and make that for
your stats of younger Cutter, yeah.
Right. Exactly. So there's going to be a lot of flexibility for everybody to play the characters that they want to play in the era that they want to play them. And this is also another great opportunity for some of the community content because, say you want an adventure set in Junsland going up against Gromel Juns and Citadel Mound, right? That doesn't exist. So maybe you want to write that, and then we can play, games set in that time period when the Thorny Mountain Holt time period. So anyway, just wanted to share that with everybody too, because it was I think it's really exciting. It's a nice little, without reinventing the game from scratch, it's a really great way to sort of breathe a whole new kind of life into it, in addition to just sort of getting the physical classic game back out there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I don't know,
You definitely want to look beyond just the classic game.
Yeah.
Nai-chan has their hand raised. I'll step down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me go ahead and add you in here. All right. Let's see. Invite to speak. There we go. Nai-chan, you are on. Let's hear your question.
Hello. I
Hey.
have some questions. I'm here from New Zealand. I heard you mention Chaosium is having conventions. That's news to me. I'm really excited about that. I'm a huge Chaosium fan and have been for decades.
Me too.
So massive ElfQuest fan. So what are our chances in the Southern Hemisphere of having Wendy and Richard at a Chaosium convention doing signings?
At a Chaosium convention, our Chaosium cons are they would certainly be welcome. We'd love to have them. I'll say that right up front. Chaosium cons tend to have about anywhere from 200 to 500 people at them, so they're kind of smaller affairs. And so having the Pinis, where we'd have to cover their airfare and hotel and everything else, we have a smaller budget for our conventions because they aren't that big. But I won't say never. I don't know how much Wendy and Richard like to travel those kind of distances. That's, I've flown to Australia several times, and you're talking a good 24 hours in the air for a lot of people. And so I don't know if the Pinis are up for that kind of thing. But I will certainly, we'd love to get them to Chaosium Con in the US because that's within a day's drive for them. But overseas, well, I'd have to check with them. But it's certainly not impossible. It's certainly not lack of desire. I'll say that much.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, speaking, for Wendy and Richard, because I obviously I work with them directly. They're, as far as conventions go, at this stage of their life and career, they basically focus on conventions that invite them as guests, and again, cover their travel and things like that. This year they're sticking fairly close to home, East Coast mostly, although they're going to be on their way shortly out to San Diego for San Diego Comic-Con. But basically what they have said, and what I'll repeat, is if there's a convention that you think that would be a good fit for them, to reach out to that convention and ask around and get the name of the person, or suggest that they invite Wendy and Richard. They're always game if they're invited and it works out. And I don't think they're afraid of long travel. So you never know what could happen.
I mean, you said you're in Australia, right? Just as a double check.
Australia is the fastest thing I can get to, but I'm here in New Zealand.
Oh, okay. Wonderful place. I'd love to visit New Zealand. PAX Australia would be the most likely one that could probably get the details worked out, since PAX Australia, it's a fantastic convention. Chaosium has a huge presence there. We know the organizers, and we could possibly reach out to them to see if we could get the Pinis added to their guest list.
All right. Okay. See, I think there's something going on here.
Yes, I was born in Hawaii, so I am American born. So I do travel to the States on a semi-regular basis, but I have yet to meet the Pinis. I had two questions, but the big one really was, oh shit, could I have the Pinis sign in person? Because I've been a fan of Wendy. I'm a generational fan of Wendy. My mother gave me the ElfQuest books as a child. So.
Oh, fantastic.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And I intend to give them to my daughter. But yes, the second question. So I've seen a lot of integrated programs that help people who just like groups of people who don't like having to manage large groups of large numbers. And I wanted to know if the ElfQuest books would be compatible with them. I can't think of any of them right now because of course I'm on camera, so my brain's gone all camera scattered. But there are a lot of different programs that help you build rooms and help you build character sheets and do rolling remotely, especially over things like Discord. And I just wanted to make sure if this game was going to be compatible with those without having to manually input all the numbers.
That's the goal. There's a lot of different platforms available, but yeah, with VTT platforms in particular, we want to get ElfQuest onto at least Roll20 and then go from there. But that partially depends on developers and working with a lot of freelancers on that. But that would be a fantastic thing that we want to do. It's time and money, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, I did actually have one more question, which is you mentioned that it came to me like right before I hit put my hand up. The last question was, will all of the rules be compatible with the extended universe of Jink? Because I also really loved the Jink comics.
Well, so I can answer that. I mean,
that was definitely a David question.
Yeah, I mean, so fundamentally, sort of the rules are based on how things work on the world of Two Moons on the planet of Abode. So I don't have any content written for that era. And, I will say the character sheets don't go into the future quest characters. But again, there's no reason that you can't roll up your own characters using your own creativity. There's no reason why you might not even write a scenario once we get the DriveThruRPG community content going. But perhaps, I know Rick is definitely, Rick and I have talked about, maybe there's future opportunity to produce some, new material for this game or a new version of the game or whatever that might include some of those future era stories. Rick, this is the like the far future where there's spaceships and time travel.
No, elves in space kind of thing. I get it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know it personally that well. I mean, I just, one of the things that slowed me down was that I, picked up the, big omnibus ElfQuest early when I was reading through that, plus grabbing some additional art, which we're using in the books to round out. We needed a quarter page of this or that for artwork, so I grabbed some and scanned some in from this. But I spent a lot of time reading this, but I haven't read on into the future very much. But one of the things, especially, we don't want the line just to be stagnant, where it's okay, you got all the classic supplements again. We'd love to have additional things written. We'd love to work with authors who would like to write those types of things with us, like a space supplement for ElfQuest. It could be 64, 128 pages. It all depends on the author and their motivation. But we'd especially for the new version of ElfQuest, the updated edition of a much more of a storytelling, lighter, less crunchy numbers game, still based on basic role playing. But we have a basic role playing is a toolkit where you can have it be really crunchy with a lot of numbers or a lot more numbers light. And already having spoken with a number of people feel that ElfQuest would be better served with a lighter rule system with less number crunching, not so much hit locations and armor points and all that. And so, we'd love to have people writing, especially for what we see as a new edition of ElfQuest, these other supplements and source books for all eras. If we had 5 different eras come out in a source book each, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really good to hear. Potentially, if say a fan and artist of that comic was to create a supplement for Jink that was up to date, then I could submit that and just kind of give it to the greater community so that they may ravage it. I know Jink is not nearly as popular as the original ElfQuest series, but the MC is just the coolest chick. So
that's exactly
sure.
That's exactly what the community content program does. It allows fans to, in a legitimate way, right, create content without kind of getting into any of the mess of copyright and trademark or whatever, and put that content out there specifically for other fans to use and play with. And Jink, the Future Quest stories, they're might not be as popular as the original Quest era, but there's a lot of fans of that era as well. So
I mean, one of the ways to find out is to write a very modest, even if it was like a 16 or 24 or 32 page PDF only to begin with. But we do offer, if sales reach a certain level on the PDFs on DriveThruRPG for the community content, you can then do a print on demand version of it so people can get a printed copy. And so a number of our, publications on there we have available as print-on-demand books. But if you test the waters with a smaller, simple supplement of here's an overview to that era, and as long as you're writing it in your own words, we'd love to see something like that. It could have a character sheet in there, for people to use. If it was electronic character sheet, then of course it could even be up to AutoCalc. All kinds of things are possible. And then we find the smaller products really let people gauge how popular that general era or theme or topic would be. And then you see more content come out. It's like, holy cow, 1,000 of this, got sold at, $2.99 each. Then there's some real audience there. And then it just naturally will have some more supplemental material come out. They'll write a second book or a second supplement or another scenario, and it just kind of grows. And, that's the best way to find out if there's an audience for it.
Yeah.
At least I feel it is, if you're talking about for printed publications and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, those were the bulk of my questions. I just wanted to ask about Jink and the chances of Windy in Australia, because it is very expensive to get to the States, as you say. But if they fly her out, it's different. Then, I had one other question, but I don't want to miss my answer. So thank you very much, guys.
If you think of your other question, raise your hand again, and we'll pop you back up.
Sure.
Thanks.
Because I'm the head of the nostalgia department, and I saw a couple comments related to it in the chat. The shelves behind me, this is not some wallpaper. I work from Chaosium headquarters, also known as my house. And I've been a collector of Chaosium's games, and this is my reference library. And it kind of extends over to the side a little bit more, so it's not just those shelves. But basically, I'm surrounded by my Chaosium collection. And so what you're looking at is basically everything ever printed that's Chaosium related, just in case. I saw in the comments there, so I thought I'd mention that. Yeah,
it's so cool. I mean, you're like working in a library of some of the stuff of your own work too, right? It's pretty neat.
Yep.
One thing that I don't think we've talked about is sort of what's the intersection between kind of canon and fan created when it comes to the DriveThruRPG type content. Like, can you talk a little bit about that and how that works with your?
It comes up in particular with our Runequest products all the time. We have a saying where your Glorantha being the game world that Runequest is set in, your Glorantha will vary. It's gonna. I guess we could say we'll come up with something clever, but your 2 moons will vary, because what you publish in the ElfQuest community content program, ultimately, it does not have to stick to canon. It of course, a lot of people prefer if it does, but it doesn't have to. The one thing that I'll just point out up front, though, is that it's not like the Pinis are going to be grabbing stuff from it and putting it into future things. If they had the desire to do that, they might contact you and do that. But the Pinis are going to keep doing what they want to do as they want to do it. And so if you disagree with something that they've done, that's just the way things are. You don't have to follow canon. A lot of people prefer you follow canon, but there's no requirements that you follow canon.
Right. And that's why I asked, because I think it's really important for everybody to know that because you have an official route to produce some of this content does not mean that it then becomes story canon. As Rick pointed out, like Wendy and Richard are the storytellers of ElfQuest, and so the canon story comes from them. It's just like like we've always said, the role playing game, any other licensed merchandising, even a lot of the sort of non-canon, like New Blood era, 90s era, sort of canon-ish stories, those are canon up until they contradict stories that the Pinis do, and then they become canon-ish. So for some people that's a question, so I just wanted to surface that. But the idea is like, be creative, have fun. And yes, I think most of us would prefer something to be within the canon story world, but if you have a crazy idea, go for it, and it might make for a really fun gameplay, and it doesn't have to be canon in the universe of ElfQuest to be fun to play, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing. If it's a good read, it's fun to play. That is the most important thing over everything is totally canonical.
Right, but one caveat that we have talked about, you and I, Rick, is you can't include sort of other intellectual property. So in other words, if you wanted to do a ElfQuest Superman crossover supplement, you couldn't do that because
Or ElfQuest
obviously
Tolkien crossover with elves. No, I mean
you have to.
you have to respect everybody's intellectual property. So you can't do ElfQuest elves travel to Mordor. You can't
Right.
do that.
At least not on DriveThruRPG. If you want to create that scenario and play with your playing group, you're right, like have at it,
Anything in
right?
your group. It's when you want to share it with the world for either for money or no money. That's when intellectual property comes into play.
Right, right. Samson, back to you.
All right, we've got a quick question here from where is it? Oh my God, I'm gonna butcher this again. Adarian. Back when we were talking about typos and peer review, they said, as far as I understood, it's not yet printed, so one could still send suggestions about possible mistakes. Are you still looking for feedback, Rick?
I'm sorry. I had a little bit of a hiccup with my connection there. Can you say it again, please?
Are you still looking for typos or misprints if people find them?
If it was something really important, please submit it. But that window is largely closed. So if it's a simple typo, unfortunately, we had to turn off the tap on that because I'm working through the proofs with the printer. I do have the option of catching something before the presses go full because we're waiting for our queue. We're waiting for our line to get onto the printing presses right now. So I could catch something really important, but it would have to be something really important, not just there's 2 periods at the end of this sentence. It would have to be like there's the formula is totally wrong for this spell, or it has to be something important. I mean, when in doubt, you can submit it, but it'd have to really be something big for me to get it over the printers right now.
Right.
Okay.
And also remember, lots of other people have already come through this and submitted.
Oh yeah, we've had wonderful feedback. I want to thank all the people who submitted things. It's going to be great to have a thank you in the printed books with those people's names in it. And so we're looking forward to seeing that.
Before you move on, because I don't know if we've shared that yet. I think more breaking news that if you did take the time to read through the sort of the peer review copies, your name is going to appear in the book as a thank you, like Rick just said, which I just think is so awesome. And so just wanted to spotlight that.
In the back of the book, in a box text, it's going to say thank you to our fan proofreaders and editors, and for catching all the things to make the product just that much a little bit better. And we're always happy to thank those that helped us get a better product.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
Did I blow that secret, or I thought, oh man, I wasn't thinking about that. I can't remember if it was supposed to be a total surprise, and I just blew the surprise.
No, it was. I don't. We didn't talk about it being like a big secret, but I don't think we shared that yet. And so I love. By the way, like let's keep breaking the news here, right? Like we're trying to make this Discord the place for the ElfQuest fandom to come for RPG stuff. And again, like Maureen said at the top, Rick, you agreeing to do this is just so phenomenal, and it really.
I love these kind of things. I can't do them every week, but I'm that's why unfortunately I'm not on Discord that often, just because I got so many other things going on. But I hope we do one of these again, and I hope it's not like 6 months from now.
Yeah, well, I think for sure we will do that. I do want to just we're about 12 minutes before 6. I want to be respectful of everyone's time on a Sunday. So let's shoot to wrap this in the next 12 minutes or so. So folks, if you have any other questions or comments that you'd like to share with Rick. Yeah, I figured you had a few more. I just want to remind people, again, if you missed it earlier, you can raise your hand and you can ask directly, or you can put your questions in the chat, and Maureen Damson will call them out for you. So,
yeah. So Dustin Cooper, aka Coop Dog, says, can something like a cheat sheet be available for free online? Because I know you said in the DriveThruRPG, like summarization of the stuff that's in the book isn't cool, but what do we do about cheat sheet ideas?
When in doubt, if you send it to myself, rick@chaosium.com, or when we have a community content ambassador, we'll figure out the best way to get it out there. I mean, if it's really, really cool, we might just make it as a freebie on the chaosium.com website in the ElfQuest section. You'll be able to you can buy the boxed ElfQuest, you can buy the PDFs, A lot of times we'll have all the handouts and all that is free downloads. The character sheets are always free downloads on Chaosium.com. If it's a really cool cheat sheet, we may say we'll credit you and give you full credit for it, but we may have it as a free download on Chaosium.com, and that makes it about as official as you can get.
Cool.
Yeah,
All
very
right.
cool.
I saw a couple of quick things I could answer in the comments, not to cheat you out of your role. ElfQuest Miniatures. Chaosium's never been an ElfQuest Miniatures company, or a miniatures company in general, I should say. We're happy to partner with people with that. And so it's just finding a licensee that wants to work with the Pinis and Chaosium to come up with ElfQuest RPG minis like Roll Partha did back in the day. I got a full set of them on the shelves back here, and they're really super cool. I'd love to get something like that again. I know there's a lot of 3D printing options as well out there these days with STL files. So we'd love to partner with a miniatures company to do that. We haven't had any companies approach us, but you never know. Especially once the printed game is out there again and we're working on a new edition and all that, we may very well partner with a minis company to do that.
Yeah, and I can speak to that too. I mean, we all know that everybody wants, more widely available new minis, and so it's definitely on the radar. Let's get this game out there. That's where the focus has been.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. An interim step is going to be in the box set that we're producing because we got those standees, and they're not exactly, they aren't quote unquote 3D miniatures, but they're certainly pretty cool to have at your game table.
Yeah, the standees are totally rad, and I am saying that not because I helped pick them, but I did help pick them. So, and I worked with Richard to pull all the art that we got over to Rick so that we could create these really, really awesome and to scale standees. And so, and we have ideas for even more of them. So those are coming your way soon. Yeah.
Yep. We worked with an artist who helped round them out and fill in a few details. They were a full standee versus obscured by a voice bubble or whatever else.
Yep. Yeah. And actually, a little bit of I don't think there's any harm in mentioning this, but the artist that we worked with is the same artist who is taking Wendy's art and adapting it into the incredible challenge coins that our other partner Stans is putting out. So her name's Riley. She's pretty phenomenal, and so we were able to, connect Riley over with Rick, and so Riley worked on some of the standee art to make them again full body figures, because it's hard to find a full body figure in the comic that is not obscured with something else. So anyway, that's going to be a real treat. I really cannot wait for you guys all to see that. So anyway, more questions.
Yeah, a number of people have been asking, will you be setting up an equivalent to Johnstown on DriveThruRPG for room,
that's we haven't come up with a cool name for it, but like for example, just so everybody, if you're not familiar with our community content programs, I mean technically there's the Call of Cthulhu community content program, but it has the name Miskatonic Repository after Miskatonic University, which is a big thing in the world of Call of Cthulhu. We have the Johnstown Compendium, which is for all of our Runequest publications. That's just a riff on a very famous Johnstown library in the game world of Glorantha. Just like we have the Explorers Society for 7th Sea, and then we have a similar one for Pendragon as well, where we where we give it a name just to make it more evocative. But in the end, it's the ElfQuest Community Content Program. What cool name we have along with it. We may be asking fans to submit a name for it, and it may become the Community Content Program name.
Hawksong just said in the chat or suggested that maybe we have a contest here on this Discord server to come up with what that name would be.
Anything to get more people interacting here on Discord, I'm up for it. Okay, so where did that question go? Okay, so North Star fan said, and they quoted something from the most recent Kickstarter update regarding what you said about, we've also started evaluating what new product for the ElfQuest RPG can be produced as new material is long overdue. Mm-hmm. Are there already plans, or is any new supplemental information already being worked on?
We have ideas. We have ideas. There's nothing I'm forbidden from talking about. I mean, occasionally our marketing people say, don't mention this new product until we're ready to, and so we don't mention it until the marketing people tell us we can. But when it comes to ElfQuest, number one, we want to do a new rules light edition of ElfQuest based on basic role playing because it's a toolkit. So it'd be a lighter version where we probably wouldn't have armor locations. We wouldn't have hit points by location. We just have general hit points, just general armor, things like that. We'd want to probably tweak the magic system a fair bit. We want to make combat less certainly number crunchy. But it'd be very true to the original game. There'd be a lot of backwards compatibility, but it'd be a much more rules lighter version. Now, in terms of what supplements would go with that, with a new rule book, we really haven't gotten to that yet. What anyone is welcome to do, especially after the boxed game is out toward the end of the year, is if they have ideas for something they might like to write for the newer, lighter rules version of it. I'd love to do the whatever supplement for it. We're very reliant on freelance writers for this sort of thing. We don't have a big team working on ElfQuest. I'm the only person working on ElfQuest other than our cartographer that did the new map of Abode for the whole world. I'm kind of a one-person team right now. And so we would be assigning a line editor to it, but then we'd be working with freelance authors and artists to create all the material. Along with, of course, we'd have access to the Pinis art archive for a lot of potential art, depending on what the subject is and what the book is and all that. But we haven't gotten down to we're going to have this book on this range of this island or this continent or anything like that, or what scenarios. I did see the comments about very newbie friendly, never played ElfQuest before, beginner scenarios, and we definitely would have that. We'd be very much looking at a starter set, which would include a solo adventure, as well as how to get started very quickly in the World of Two Moons. Realistically, it would be set in the classic era of ElfQuest, but even that's not set in stone. That's just the most likely thing to be, because that's where the biggest attraction generally is. But that's about as far as we are. We don't have like 5 books in the pipeline where this one's half written and this one's in editing or anything like that.
But I think the underscoring all of that is the idea that this is just the beginning, right? And Chaosium is into doing more ElfQuest. We are at Warp Graphics as well. Obviously, you all are as well, the fandom. So let's keep playing. Let's get some games rolling. Let's get some supplemental materials written. Let's generate ideas and enthusiasm, and that's going to be the thing that fuels all of this going forward. So that's my message to all of you, is like, let's have fun with this thing and make it happen, because if we put that energy into it, it will.
And that segues nicely into what I wanted to mention is we have our very first game already running here on our server. It started up yesterday for their session 0. And if you go into our RPG forum and search for now recruiting, I believe they're still looking for a couple of players. And any other game masters who are ready to run a game, all you have to do is let me know, and we will set you up and put out the call and hope that people are going to sign up as players. So we're trying to make this the place to find people and announce your games and get things going, so people just know, come to this Discord if you want to interact with other ElfQuest fans.
Yes, definitely. So we're coming up here on 6. And does anybody have any more questions? Damson, anything else from the chat?
I did skip over one from Scaldy, who was too young to play the original edition and has no idea what kind of dice and stat system it uses. We can tell you if you stay in the meeting after we're done here. We'll tell you how that system is built.
It uses Dungeons and Dragons style dice, basically.
Yeah. Ping me if reply to if someone has a question we missed, reply to it in the chat, because I might have missed the last one, if somebody asked something very recently.
Scrolling through here to see.
There was a non-ElfQuest game. I guess I'll just ask it really quick. Speaking of Chaosium history, Rick, do you know if the 50th anniversary Runequest panels at GenCon will be live streamed or up on YouTube?
That's more up to the GenCon folks than it is Chaosium, because they handle those type of things more than we do. I know we're going to record them I don't know about live stream yet. I'll have to check with John Peterson and a few of the GenCon crew, like Derek, to see what they're going to be taking care of for that. But I don't know at this point in time. I'm gonna be on a lot of those panels, but I haven't heard about the logistics of recording and live streaming yet, unfortunately.
Okay, I am through my list. That was it.
I just want to thank
All right, well,
David and also our Discord admins for making all this happen and letting me be on this. I love talking about anything Chaosium related, and ElfQuest is a growing love of mine now. I got the Wolf Rider's Guide, I got the Omnibus. I diving a lot more into ElfQuest than I did back in the day when I bought the ElfQuest originals. Back in the day, back in the 80s. I gotta admit I didn't read or play them that much, but I'm certainly having increasing interest in it.
excellent. We love to hear that. And so maybe one of these days we'll have a game with you actually playing with us, Rick. That would be pretty amazing.
Awesome. That would be awesome.
All right. Well, I think that's a perfect note to end on. Rick, I want to thank you for, again, being so generous with your time, coming out here on a Sunday and chatting with us ElfQuest diehards. I'm super stoked. I've been stoked from the minute that I heard that we were going to be doing this. And so, yeah, we'll definitely we'll keep talking about different opportunities to bring you back here, Rick, and we'll keep you posted. And everybody out there, like I said a minute ago, let's just start playing some games and having fun with it and learning, and just using the game that's out there. And pretty soon, not in just a few months, we'll have the physical thing. So, Damson, any last final words you want to add?
I just wanted to thank everybody who came to this. This is so exciting. I think this is the biggest event we've had here in the server so far, and we are, the sky's the limit here. So if anybody has any questions that later you forgot to ask Rick, we can forward them through him. Ping me. Any questions about how to get games going, ping me. We'll help you out. We're happy. This is why we made the server.
I hope we have more events like this. Especially as we get to some of the new material and all that. I'm happy to talk about it more. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rick. Everybody's been saying thank you in the chat.
Oh, you're most welcome, and thanks for being here. Really enjoyed it.
Well, until next time, I'm gonna bounce, Rick. You're gonna feel free to head out. Damson, if you want to stay and chat with other folks, obviously, you can do that. But I just wanted to say goodbye, and we'll see you. We'll see you next time.
Yep.
Thank you so much, David. It's always a pleasure.
Bye-bye for me as well.
Thanks.
Bye,
Rick.
everyone.
Bye, guys.